Can you actually believe that one of Hollywood's, toughest action heroes once made his living selling sort of fake goods on the streets, right there in London?
It sounds incredible, doesn't it?
It really does. We're diving into the incredible origin story of Jason Statham today, and honestly, his early life sounds almost more action-packed than some of his movies.
That's absolutely right. Today, we're really unpacking the fascinating journey of Jason Statham. We'll trace his path from, pretty humble beginnings and some very unexpected careers.
Like diving.
Exactly, like diving. And then his surprisingly lucrative years as a street vendor, even some run-ins with the law, apparently.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and then that almost accidental encounter that launched his entire acting career. We've pulled together various accounts and expert takes to really get a handle on how all these different experiences shaped the action icon we all know.
Our mission, then, is to give you, our listener, a really full and engaging picture of those formative years, those key moments that led to Jason Statham's, frankly, unlikely rise to fame. We want to reveal the surprising skills and experiences that really paved his way to Hollywood.
Okay, so where do we start? His beginnings weren't exactly glamorous.
No, definitely not. He was born in 1967 in Shirebrook, Derbyshire. That was a coal mining town back then.
Right. And his father was a street vendor, as you mentioned, and his mother was a dancer. It paints a picture of, resourcefulness, I suppose.
Making ends meet.
Definitely. And those early years probably instilled a real resilience in him, a way of figuring things out, making things happen.
And it sounds like his dad was more than just, the background. I read that he basically gave him his first acting lessons right there on the street.
In a way, yes.
Yeah.
Teaching him how to capture attention, how to persuade people. It's a kind of street performance, isn't it?
Absolutely. Holding the crowd.
Exactly. How to catch someone's eye, present yourself, be convincing. These are skills any performer needs, whether you're selling iffy watches or delivering lines on screen. It's about grabbing that attention and keeping it.
But before the movies, and even before the high-level street selling, he was actually making waves somewhere else entirely. In sports.
That's right. He showed remarkable physical talent from a young age. He really excelled in competitive diving.
Not just casually either. He represented England.
He did, at the 1990 Commonwealth Games. That takes incredible dedication, years and years of really rigorous training, discipline, physical control.
And I heard he came incredibly close to the Olympics, like painfully close.
Agonizingly close. He narrowly missed qualifying 3 separate times, finished third in the trials when only the top 2 got to go.
Wow, 3 times.
Yeah, that kind of repeated near miss. Well, it could break someone. But it seems Statham just channeled that discipline somewhere else. He abandoned diving around 92.
And that somewhere else led him back to the family tradition, didn't it? Selling on the streets.
It did. After diving ended, he picked up the family trade, setting up near Harrods in London, of all places.
Near Harrods. Selling. What exactly?
Well, this is where it gets interesting. He wasn't just, laying out a blanket. He elevated street selling almost to an art form. Or maybe street theater is the better term.
Street theater?
How so? Apparently, it was quite the setup. He had a whole routine to draw people in, make the pitch. He even supposedly had planted teammates in the crowd and lookouts watching for the police.
Lookouts. Okay, so what was he selling?
Counterfeit jewelry and perfume, mostly. Knockoffs.
Okay, that explains the lookout.
Precisely. And he developed this really mesmerizing routine, this pattern, to pull crowds in and convince them to buy.
And he was good at it?
Extremely good. We're talking potentially up to 2,000 pounds in a good weekend back then.
2,000 pounds in the early 90s. That's a serious amount of cash.
It really is. If you adjust for inflation, that's roughly, $5,500 today in a weekend? That was more than double the average monthly salary in England at the time.
Good grief.
Yeah.
So he really mastered this.
He had a whole system, specific items wrapped just so in tissue paper. And apparently, he had very clever responses ready if customers asked awkward questions like, "Where's the box?"
Always have an answer ready.
Right. He learned a lot from his father, who used to run these things called mock auctions. He really understood the psychology of it, how people can get sort of swept up, how they love the idea of a bargain.
So he understood how people get ripped off, as his dad put it.
That's the phrase used, yeah. But Statham himself, looking back, didn't frame it as outright deception. His view was more that he was capitalizing on people's, well, maybe their greed, or just the irresistible lure of thinking they're getting a steal.
Letting them believe what they wanted to believe.
Essentially, he pointed out they never explicitly said the stuff was real, the genuine article. They just let the presentation and the perceived bargain do the talking.
So all that time,
Yeah.
hustling on the street, he was honing some very specific skills.
Absolutely. Confidence, obviously. Improvisation, thinking on your feet, reading body language, knowing who to approach, how to handle them.
It does sound like training for acting, doesn't it? Without even realizing it.
Someone actually described it exactly like that. Training for acting on the streets without even knowing it, those skills are directly transferable.
Okay, but the lookouts, the
Yeah.
counterfeit goods,
Right.
that brings us to this untold chapter you mentioned, his run-ins with the law.
Right. This wasn't just, casual selling. His activities definitely caught the attention of the London police.
I bet. So was he constantly getting arrested?
Well, this is the amazing part. Apparently not. He developed this almost uncanny ability to just evaporate. Vanish.
Yeah.
People said he could be standing there 1 second and the next, he's gone. The police reportedly never caught him in the act.
That sounds like a movie scene. Seriously.
Doesn't it? It's almost too perfect, foreshadowing all those chase scenes he'd later film. Imagine that skill just disappearing into the London crowds.
So how did he manage that? Was it just him being quick?
It was partly that, but also the sophisticated operation. Those lookouts weren't just for show. They'd signal if police were approaching, giving him and his team enough time to just melt away.
A whole system for evasion.
Exactly. So he got this firsthand experience, this real-world immersion in that whole cat-and-mouse dynamic with authority. You can see how that would lend authenticity to certain roles later on.
And the physical side, too. I mean, constantly being ready to bolt.
No doubt. That physical agility honed during those quick escapes, on top of his diving background, it all feeds into the action movie prowess we see.
Okay, this is quite a story already. We've got the working class roots, the elite diving, the incredibly successful, if illegal, street vending, the police evasion. How on earth does this connect to Hollywood?
Well, this is where things take another sharp turn. His visibility, let's say, on the streets, combined with his look, actually got him noticed by photographers. Yeah, which then led, surprisingly perhaps, to modeling work. He started modeling for the clothing brand French Connection.
From street hustler to fashion model. Okay.
It's quite the leap, isn't it? And crucially, it was through those modeling connections that he got introduced to a filmmaker named Guy Ritchie around 1998.
Guy Ritchie. Right. Lock, Stock.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Ritchie was gearing up for his first feature film, Lock, Stock, and Two Smoking Barrels. And he had a very specific vision. He didn't want polished, classically trained actors. He wanted authentic London characters, people who knew the streets.
And Statham must have seemed like the perfect fit.
Absolutely perfect. But the way Ritchie discovered just how perfect is legendary, the audition wasn't typical.
What happened?
Ritchie basically heard about Statham's background, and instead of giving him lines to read, he challenged him. He said, "Okay, sell me some of that fake jewelry you used to peddle."
No way.
Yes. So Statham, drawing on all those years of experience, just launched into his old routine. He was apparently so convincing, so persistent, that Ritchie actually had trouble getting rid of him, even knowing it was an act.
Oh, he couldn't stop selling.
He was just that good. Ritchie was completely sold, not on the jewelry, but on Statham. He cast him right then and there as Bacon, one of the leads in Lock, Stock.
That is absolutely incredible. So his acting career literally started because he was so good at his old job, and he had zero formal training.
None. Nada. Lock, Stock was his debut. And the character, Bacon, this street-smart hustler, well, wasn't much of a stretch, was it? He was drawing directly from life.
And people noticed that authenticity, didn't they?
Oh, immediately. Critics picked up on his natural screen presence. It didn't feel like acting. His co-star, Vinnie Jones, another non-traditional actor.
Right, the footballer.
Exactly. Jones pointed out that Statham's life experience was the key. It gave him a raw edge you couldn't really teach.
And the film itself just exploded.
It became a massive cultural phenomenon, especially in the UK, but internationally too. And just like that, Jason Statham, the former diver and street vendor, was launched as an actor.
So, from the gritty streets of London, the path to Hollywood started to open up.
It really did. He worked with Guy Ritchie again on Snatch in 2000, which further boosted his profile. That sort of cemented his image as part of that cool London gangster genre.
And then America came calling.
Slowly at first. He got some supporting roles in American films, but the real turning point, the moment he became a leading man, was Luc Besson's The Transporter in 2002.
Ah, yes. The Transporter.
Yeah.
That really defined his action persona.
Totally. It was the perfect vehicle for him. It showcased his physical abilities. You could really see the discipline from diving paying off there, his cool demeanor, that driving skill. It established him as a bona fide action hero.
And it wasn't just a one-off. That film spawned sequels.
It did. It became a franchise and really solidified his status as a bankable action star. You had the physicality from diving, the street-smart attitude from, well, the streets.
A unique combination.
Very unique. It offered a refreshing change from the more traditional, maybe more polished Hollywood leading men. He felt more grounded, more real somehow.
And it seems like he made smart choices after that, building on that image.
He did. He seemed to build his career quite strategically, choosing roles that really played to his strengths, primarily in the action genre. By around 2008, maybe a bit earlier, he was absolutely recognized as a reliable go-to action star with a strong track record.
So, the journey was complete. From selling knockoffs outside Harrods to headlining global blockbusters, it's just quite something.
It really is. And Statham himself acknowledges how those diverse, unconventional early experiences, the athletics, the street hustle, prepared him for acting in ways he could never have planned or anticipated.
So just to wrap our heads around this again, from selling those bargains near Harrods to starring in massive action movies, Jason Statham's life really shows that real-world experience can be the most valuable training sometimes.
Absolutely. His time as a street vendor, that intense discipline from diving, even maybe his knack for evading the police,
Yep.
It all seems to have poured into creating the charismatic, formidable action star we see on screen.
It's a fantastic story. Now, if you listening found this deep dive into Jason Statham's early life as fascinating as we did, please do give this a thumbs up. And hey, why not subscribe for more surprising stories behind the stars?
Yeah, and let us know what you thought. Leave a comment below, just put a foot puck if you enjoyed learning about Statham's incredible hustle, or maybe a 2 if this wasn't quite your cup of tea. We'd love to hear from you.
And here's a final thought to chew on. Knowing all this about his background, does it change how you watch his action roles now?
That's interesting. Do you see glimpses of the street vendor, maybe? Or the diver's control? Consider how those skills he learned way back then might still subtly be informing his performances today.